Welcome, my name is Martin Marga, and in this video I will talk about SmartStudio Manager and examples of application in automotive industry. First, I will introduce SmartStudio Manager. To better understand what SmartStudio Manager is, I will briefly talk about SmartStudio. Then I will show sample operation in SmartStudio Manager, and after that I will show examples of using SmartStudio Manager in automotive applications. LTE to LTE Handover simulation with telematics control unit, cell reselection simulation in LTE-WCDMA environment, and ECall Test according to EN 16454 standard. SmartStudio Manager is automation software used to automate SmartStudio operation. SmartStudio is operation software of MD8475 signaling tester. It's used for manual control and configuration of simulation. MD8475 signaling tester is compact, all-in-one, multi-technology network simulator. It supports all cellular technologies including different services, features, and functions like IMS, Voice over LTE, SRVCC, and others. To give a bit more details of SmartStudio, it's a graphical user interface for manual operation. It's intuitive and simple to use. It's a state machine based, which means the simulation is based on a state in which the mobile device is in terms of communication with the mobile network. Test operation is interactive, where you can test not only normal scenarios but also abnormal scenarios while simulating rejection or ignoring signaling messages. Only minimal protocol knowledge is required, as SmartStudio is handling the signaling messages automatically according to simulated scenario. SmartStudio also includes signaling procedures which are ready to run. This gives the user easy access to test different signaling procedures. Now about SmartStudio Manager. It's a flowchart based software where the test flow is created by connecting logical blocks. With such operation, you can easily translate manual tests into fully automated operation. SmartStudio Manager includes basic test package containing 180 test cases covering most common test scenarios for testing mobile devices. This gives a user an advantage of having the test cases ready to run from very first point after the installation of SmartStudio Manager. These test cases can be directly executed or modified per user needs to meet specific requirements. Categorization to projects, workspaces, libraries, campaigns, test cases, and procedures gives easy test management to any user of SmartStudio Manager. Once the set of test cases are ready, user can easily create a test plan in form of campaign where all test cases are run one by one. This intelligent automated test sequences provides full level of automation with number of test cases. Besides of automating and controlling of MD8475 signaling tester, SmartStudio is capable to control and automate mobile devices and also any external equipment via GPIB library. To better understand connection between SmartStudio and SmartStudio Manager, let me show you following example. On the left side we have a screen. On the left side we have a screen of SmartStudio. With the first button we select simulation parameters. With the second button we select cell parameters, and then with the third button we start the simulation and wait for power off state. So each this manual operation done in SmartStudio is now interpreted by its procedure in SmartStudio Manager on the right side. Now I will show a sample operation of SmartStudio Manager. Our setup is following. MD475A signaling tester is connected to the SmartStudio Manager PC with Ethernet cable. Telematic control unit is connected to the same PC with a USB cable through which we are controlling the telematic control unit modem. And the telematic control unit is connected to the main RF port of MD475A signaling tester with RF cable. When I open SmartStudio Manager, I will get following screen where the default workspace is open. So I will open first a basic test package workspace. The basic test package gives me all the test cases which are now ready to run. So the basic test package contains the set of the test cases for the AMS with LTE technology, mobility test cases between different technologies, standard registration in different technologies, testing different services in different technologies, test cases for SMS in different technologies, test cases for TS09, battery consumption testing, and for wireless LAN offload. The workspace also contains the archive which is called library. This library contains all compound procedures which are used in particular test cases. So now I will open registration L attach. L means LTE. So in this case, or in this test case, we will test the device if successfully registers to LTE network. So now the test case is open and the test case contains multiple steps. From the start to the end. On the left side there you can see that the procedure picker now is available, where we have access to different actions which we can drag and drop to the test case. For automation, now the library to control the SmartStudio procedures. Here you can see there is a number of procedures which you can use to control SmartStudio. You have different events and timers once they are declared, and of course you have the library where the compound procedures are. So now to run the test case, I will just click the Run button. And the test case is now being executed. So I will open the screen of the SmartStudio so we see how the execution of SmartStudio Manager steps is reflected in controlling of SmartStudio. So now the first step is constant definition, where all the parameters are defined and transformed from the text file back to the SmartStudio Manager environment. The init sim, which is to initialize the signaling tester MD475. Now we are the set simulation parameter, where we are setting the simulation parameter, setting the cell parameter, and now we are starting the simulation. Simulation is started. Now we will set the downlink power and set the control UI to switch on the device. The device, there we can see that the control UI is using the ATMMI proxy application, where we are sending the AT commands directly to the COM port of of the device, where we are also receiving the responses back from the device. So now we see that once the device was switched on, it successfully registered and get to the communication state. The test case passed, so we switch off the device, and now we are stopping the simulation. Saving the log, saving the trace log. And copying all the files. So now to see the result, I will go to the folder basic test package, results, and now I have the latest test which I run is this one. So here I have all the reports. So first of all I have the test run report in HTML, XML, CSV or text or a CSV file. So I can open, for example, the results. So we see the test case passed, and we see which criteria evaluation or which conditions were met to evaluate the pass or fail verdict. Additionally, we have the sequence log, which is copied from MD8475 SmartStudio, so we see all the steps what SmartStudio did during the simulation. And also we have the trace log, where we see the very detailed messages exchanged between different layers. So here we can see all the logs, all the messages. So for example, if we go to here, we see RSC connection request, for example, RSC connection setup, messages which are being transferred. So now if I go back to the design, I also can see the results in the folder, where I see this is my test case which I just ran, which passed, and which evaluation condition is done. And I can open the test case in the message sequence chart. So here I see all the control messages which are sent from the SmartStudio Manager to the SmartStudio, and what are the responses. So for example, set simulation parameters, sets, and answer for the set simulation parameters command. Now I will show the example number 1, which is LTE to LTE handover simulation with telematic control unit. So I will open mobility L2L LTE to LTE handover test. Run the test case. Opens the screen of SmartStudio to see the progress. So the first initialization phase, the loading of the constant or the constant definition, switch off the device, initialize the simulator, setting the simulation parameter, setting the cell parameter, and start simulation. Now simulation started, so we will set the downlink power of the first cell, switch on the device. Device is getting to the communication state. There's a 30-second timer for the control UV procedure. Now we start the ping, so to verify the data connectivity between the internal server and the mobile device. I'm going to wait to finish the ping. And now we set the test case parameters to handover and started the test case. So now we see that the power of the cell, of the target cell, is now changing. So the source cell is still the same. So here we can see to which cell it is connected to, BTS1 at the moment. And the BTS2 power is increasing. So when it's reaching the final power level, the trigger, the handover is executed. So we saw RSC connection reconfiguration message to start the handover. RSC connection reconfiguration complete is received from BTS2, which means the handover is completed. And now again we verify the data connectivity. And again we go other way around. So now we will do the handover from BTS2 to BTS1. So here we can see the power change of the cell, where we dropped the power of the BTS1 and then we went back to minus 40 dBm. Now the test case was executed, it was successful, so the test case passed and the handover was successful. And now again we are verifying the data connectivity with the ping function. So we see that the test case result is passed, so we switch off the device, stop the simulation, and we will copy the sequence and the trace log from MD475 to SmartStudio Manager PC. In the second example, I will show cell reselection simulation in LTE-WCDMA environment. For this test case, I will open Mobility LW cell reselection test case from basic test package of SmartStudio Manager. and run it. So again, the first initialization phase to load the constant, switch off the device and initialize the simulator. Setting the simulation parameter, which means to load the simulation model of LTE and WCDMA cell. Setting the cell parameters for cell 1, cell 2, and now starting the simulation. When the simulation is started, we will change the downlink power of BTS1, switch on the device, so device performs the registration and makes the connection. So now we are in the communication, so we can, for example, show the throughput. So we are having throughput in LTE cell. Now we'll wait to go to the idle. Once it is in idle mode, then we will trigger the cell reselection scenario. So now we are in the reselection, so we are changing the power of the cells. So we are decreasing the BTS1 LTE cell and increasing the power of BTS2 WCDMA cell, which means that at one particular point the mobile device should trigger the registration to WCDMA cell. So now we see that mobile device triggered the registration in WCDMA cell, and the test case of the cell reselection is successful, so the test case passed, and we are again waiting to be in idle, and we will trigger the cell reselection procedure back to LTE cell. So we are decreasing the WCDMA cell power and increasing the LTE cell power. So we see that the reselection was successful, so mobile device made a reselection to LTE network, to LTE cell, which means the test case passed. We switched off the device, and now we are stopping the simulation, and we will copy all the logs from SmartStudio from NV2475 signaling tester to SmartStudio Manager PC. In example number 3, we will run ECall Test according to EN 16454. In SmartStudio Manager, I've opened European ECall Test package, which contains EN 16454 test cases for conformance and EU 2017/79 test for type approval testing. I will open test case 1141. This test case is about test ECall activated, so it's testing whether the ECall is activated from the IVS. So I will run the test case. SmartStudio Manager in this case is controlling the ECall software, which is this. So now first the initialization phase, and now the ECall software is controlling MD8475. So here we see that IVS is already registered, and SmartStudio Manager asks us to make test ECall with a non-emergency number. To do that, I will use IVS controller software through which I'm controlling my IVS, and I will trigger the call. Call is triggered, and now we see that the call is made and the minimum set of data is transmitted. And SmartStudio Manager now asks us to verify the MSD, where we see that the test ECall element is set to true. In this simple test case, we verified the standard behavior of IVS according to the EN 16454 standard. Thank you very much for your attention. Now you should know what SmartStudio Manager is and how easy it is to automate simulation with mobile network simulator environment. I hope you find it useful.